Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and we are here for our podcast.
We are.
And I'm Ro Nita, and I am 74 years old.
And I am Donica, and I am 39 years old. I'm almost to the next decade.
Yes, you are.
I heard that 40s is pretty good, though.
No. 40s are not pretty good. 40s are great.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, 40s are great.
Yes.
Yes. And the title of our podcast is Raised by Her. And we wanted to really explore various mother and daughter issues, relationships, opportunities to connect. Why did you want to do this podcast, Donica?
I like talking to you.
Oh,
So
that's sweet.
might as well
That's
do
sweet.
it on a podcast form as well.
There are a lot of podcasts out there.
Yeah.
And during the pandemic, I think that's when we probably talked the most on the phone that we had ever talked in life on the phone.
Up until that point. But I actually feel like we talk quite a bit now that we live in the same city.
Well, we do. You moved here a little over 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Back home.
I moved back
Yay.
home. Yeah.
That was good. I'm glad. And home is Dayton, Ohio.
But for clarity, when we say move back home, move back to the same city in my own house in like 15 minutes away. But it's not like I
yes.
moved back and I'm like living in your basement or
Well,
anything.
no.
Although I
Okay.
would.
Okay. All right. Yeah. You
Yeah,
could.
I mean,
You could.
you keep a nice house.
Well, thank you.
So,
I
I'm
appreciate
not mad
that.
at
So,
it.
yes, you and your husband decided to move to Dayton. Why?
Oh Lord, why do we move to Dayton? To be closer to family. That was our number one driver. We were coming from Washington D.C. And had gotten to a point in our careers where we had the flexibility to make some other decisions.
Sure.
And so we were having conversations about it. Yeah, it just really came down to family. And then certainly when he saw the housing prices in Dayton versus
Versus
other
Washington,
cities
D.C.
around the country,
Yeah,
it was
yeah, I could see
that was a plus factor.
So, I understand that. I actually remember the phone call. You all were in Atlanta visiting your husband's sister when a conversation came up about, well, if you're going to buy a house and the houses are really too expensive that you're looking at in Washington, D.C., I think his sister Karen said, why don't you maybe think about someplace else with his family?
This move would not have happened without the strategic lobbying that I did for my sister-in-law. Because I am married to a New Yorker.
Yes.
As you know, and DC sometimes was too slow for him. And so the idea of moving to his wife's hometown of Dayton, Ohio, he was like, absolutely not. But I know who has my husband's ear, and his sister is one of those people.
Well,
and so once her and I had a chat at a winery.
At a winery?
Yeah, I mean, the
That's
best type of love.
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Karen.
Right. Thank you, Karen. Yes. So it all worked out.
I think so. And your dad being here, your mom being here, and your grandmother being here, and aunts and uncles and cousins and everything. And so
Yeah, that's true. And then we also were able to get a large enough place where we could host my husband's family as well. And so they can come and visit, and they do, and we can have the big holidays that we like to have. And I'm trying to think of like one other point on this that I was going to make in terms of, our families get along. That's what I was going to say, which I think is really, really helpful. I mean, otherwise we would have stayed away. But I think
is that an issue periodically? I mean, you say our families get along. I mean, are there situations where you know of where families don't get along, and so being in the same city makes it challenging?
So this is what I've heard. I've heard that it can be really challenging from a wife and mother-in-law situation if they are in the same city.
Okay.
And so it's helpful, I think, that you and my husband have a good relationship. Yeah, so that's what I think. You also do a really good job of like, I don't know, but managing everything,
knowing my place, staying in my lane, backing out when
that's a good. I was like, how do I say this in a way that's not going to be offensive?
But one of the things I truly love about your husband is that he is he's honest and he's straightforward, so I don't have to really guess
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he will let you
whatever
know.
it is, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah.
And but I think we started out being really honest with each other. And I'll tell you a story that really resonates. One of the first times that you brought him home to uh, meet the family,
Mhm.
and your dad and I were talking about, he seems like a nice guy, but you've dated nice guys before. We were fixing, it must have been for one of the holidays because we were fixing a holiday meal. And so you had a couple of dishes that you were in charge of, that you'd already always been in charge of.
Mhm.
And so we're in the kitchen, and you're cooking and I'm cooking, and Hugh comes up the steps and he comes in and he goes, "You're cooking." And you said, "Yes." And I said, "Hugh, why are you so surprised?" And he said, "Well, I've never seen her cook." And I said, "How long have you all been dating?" And told me the time frame. And I said, "She's never cooked you a meal?" And he said, "No, she said that she doesn't know how to cook." I said, "Now that
I did not
is
say I didn't know how to cook. I said
uh-huh.
I don't like to cook. And
Uh-huh.
when one has the option,
Mhm.
I like to try to spend my time doing things I enjoy doing.
So what I said to him was, "You have Southern girl roots because my mom is from Kentucky and she
Yeah, our
taught me
people are
how
from the
to
South.
cook." Yes, and so definitely you know how. So because he was a little concerned about what you were putting together and making
He
sure.
was. He was. Yes. Yeah.
So you dated and didn't cook for him.
Is that a thing that we're doing in 2025? Or
Well, you've been married now for almost 10 years, so.
yeah, I mean that's true, but so 2024, 2023. I
Yeah,
mean,
right,
I
right.
advocate for women doing the things that they enjoy in their relationships.
Okay, well,
Full stop.
he obviously was okay with that because he married you anyway. So
Right. No, that's a good point. And we did quite a bit of relationship or marriage counseling before we got married.
uh-huh.
And I remember one of the therapists telling me, she like pulled me to the side afterwards. So I don't know if she was supposed to be doing this, but she was like, Donica, I just want to let you know that however you want your marriage to go, you need to set that precedent in the first year. Full stop. So, like, if you don't like doing the dishes, don't do the dishes every single day and then expect 5 years later to be able to switch it up and be like, I don't want to do the dishes anymore when you've been doing the dishes all
Sure.
this time.
Sure.
Like, the consistency in the first, particularly the first year, but the first couple years of marriage are really important in setting the foundation for what you want your life to look like. So, as you are navigating all of what you guys are navigating, just keep that in the back of your mind.
I
That's
can
never left me.
I can appreciate that because I remember one of the very specific things that I did not want to do, like to do when your dad and I got married,
Hmm.
was the fact of ironing shirts. And because he wore a suit to work every day, he wanted his shirts to look a certain kind of way. And for some reason in his head, he thought, after I'm married, then she'll be able to, take the washer dryer, use that whole thing, and iron my shirts.
It's probably what he saw growing up.
Well, that's true too.
Yeah.
Yes, he would, and probably his mother expected me to
Right, right, right.
iron
Those
his.
wife and mother-in-law relationships and dynamics
Yes,
were
even
back
though you're
into
not
it
in the same.
in the same city,
And
right?
I said I'm not really good at that, but I really don't like to do it. And I even take my white blouses that are button-down collar blouses, and I take them to the cleaners to have them, just like you've been doing all these years before you were married. And he said, okay. So I didn't start doing that. And I didn't do that throughout the whole time that we were married. And, we're
And
married
eventually
over.
he stopped asking.
Well, that
Yeah.
is that is a true statement. That is a true statement. But well, I back to why you're here. I'm glad that you and your husband moved to Dayton, Ohio, and where you grew up. And it's been a real true blessing in my life at this particular time for us to be able to connect, not only as mother and daughter, but also the blessing of being able to connect as women who have different perspectives,
Hmm.
who have sometimes different expectations, but have a true desire to be able to communicate on all levels about many different things. That's what this podcast is all about.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. Yes, I call you my You're the head of my personal board. You're the chairwoman of my personal board of directors. And so, of course, I talk to you all the time because I'm in need of constant advice across the board. So that's, yeah, I think that just kind of sums it up in terms of, in terms of how I look at it.
Okay.
But also, as amazing as being a back and close family is, I will say that there are some challenges moving from a larger city back to a mid-size city that I didn't necessarily take into account. I mean, the culture of larger city is very different than the culture of a smaller Midwest city. And so there's definitely been some adaptation that we've had to adjust to. And then also continue to decide that this is where we want to be at this particular time. It's not like, oh, we're here and we're just going to be here. It's a constant evaluation. Like, is this still the right place? Are we able to do all the things that we want to be able to do, not just for now, but setting ourselves up for the future. And so I think I wanted to say that because it has been amazing. It's been a net positive, but it's not something that like we moved here and everything was just like flowers and berries.
Right. Flowers and berries. Well, yeah. Okay, I understand you grew up here, so you had some obvious connections and some relationships. But it is different when you're an adult, when you're a professional, moving from a large resourced city like Washington, D.C., or your husband, New York City, and then Washington, D.C., and now coming to, as you said, a smaller or a Midwestern city that's kind of mid-size. How has he adjusted to this move since this is the first time in his life that he's lived? Some people think in the cornfields. Not really. We don't have cornfields here, but how's it been for him?
Not that I want to put words in his mouth. And then I feel like I'm going to stop talking about him because we've already spent too long talking about my husband on this podcast.
He's wonderful. He's delightful.
She's not married to him. But yes, yeah. But yeah, he's a good guy. I think it's been okay, but we talk about it. I'm like, are you still good for now, or do we need to start making other plans? And so we're able to have that conversation,
that honest conversation,
the honest conversation, and the ongoing conversation, which I think really helps both of us not feel stuck, and knowing that the possibilities remain endless, just like they were. We moved 2-ish years ago, just like they were 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. So let's think about what are the 3 most positive things about being here, and then what are the 3 challenging things about being back here?
Oh my gosh, narrow it down.
Well,
okay, positive. First and foremost, and I feel like you'll hear people say this when they do move to Dayton, it's family. That's number one. Okay. That is the unequivocal number one best thing. Number 2, I think lifestyle. Because of the cost of living is so low. So low. And when I hear people talk about how expensive things are, yes, generally speaking, everything's rising and everything is expensive. But I'm like, I just need you to like travel a little bit and gain some perspective.
Sure.
So cost of living, number 2. And then I would say number 3, we have some amazing experiences and expertise in terms of what we do that either doesn't exist here or hasn't had the opportunity to be leveraged here. And so while there are challenges being in a smaller city, it's also immense opportunity to be able to bring our skill sets, our national and global networks. Sure. I mean, it's a whole thing, and it's exciting to be able to activate in that type of way where it's not as necessarily as common as it is in some larger cities.
So what I have always said is that this is a place where you can make dreams come true. A city this size, if you are ambitious, if you are a hard worker, if you are pretty passionate about something, you can make it happen in a city this size. And I have chosen to stay here throughout my career, my professional career, and but it was home. And as we talked about earlier, it was a place where family was. But I was able to make dreams come true. I could do things here, and I could have a voice have a presence, have a space, and it was pretty cool.
I mean, I give you a lot of credit for what you were able to achieve by staying here. I am of the opinion, particularly in 2025, that it is critical that folks leave, and then uh, if they are tempted to come back, like we were tempted to come, or I was tempted to come back,
Sure.
then come back. But you must have additional exposure and experiences outside of a small city in order to just understand all of what's truly out there and all of what's possible. Now, I also think that it could be a situation where you are able to find that in other ways, either growing up or through some different experiences. But by and large, the feedback I have, based on what I've seen in the conversations of young people in this city, I'm like, I need you to leave and come back. I need you to leave.
So
I
that they
need
can
you to
gain that
understand.
experience. Well,
Gain the experience.
then that circles back around to the three, we won't call them negatives, we'll call them challenges, being in a city this size as opposed to a well-resourced city that's much larger. And you've met some folks who have just moved here for the first time, but you also know some folks that used to live here and did the same thing that you all did, came here to live and then chose to go back.
Yeah, some of them lasted. Some of them, I'd say it's about 50-50.
Yeah. But what are the challenge areas?
Narrowing it down to 3. What is
No straight through flights. I'm sorry.
no, okay, but that is it. Let's just go ahead and add that to the list, because
I hear that all the time. I don't want to change planes.
That's real. That is so real.
Sorry.
Though. No. Please don't apologize, because that is so real. And I am a convenience-oriented person.
Really?
Right. And so my expectation is that when I am in a city, they will be able to provide something as nominal as a straight-through flight to wherever it's not just good personally, but from a professional perspective as well. I don't understand how you can have all these big companies that are national in scope and you don't have any flights for them to get back and forth to their headquarters or back and forth to the anyway. So let's go ahead and add that to the list, because that's an irritation point. And people are like, but you can always drive to Cincinnati or you can always drive to Columbus. And I was like, Cincinnati is 45 minutes away. Not convenient. Columbus is an hour and a half. No.
Well, we actually do that. See, those of us who didn't go someplace else to live, that's what we do.
You need to go out, get the exposure, come back so you can be like, now look,
okay,
these are some things that we can do to elevate and make it better. I will also say I struggle a little bit with the mindset here.
What does that mean, the mindset?
The mindset. I find it, folks who have been here for a really long time, and they like doing things the way they've always been done. They don't want to change. They don't want to pivot. They don't want to innovate. They don't want to progress. They want to
just keep it the same. Yeah.
Just keep it the same. And I was like, when I first moved here, I was like, why does it feel like the 1950s? But now I know why.
Sure.
Now, again, that provides ample opportunity to change, but but then you're also fighting a mindset, which can be challenging. It's not a challenge that can't be overcome. And of course, I'm speaking generally. There are some fantastic people who have more broad experience and more broad expectation and are truly moving things forward. But there's too many small mindsets. For me, it's an irritant.
Okay. All right.
And so what would be the other big challenge of being in Dayton, Ohio? So my husband and I, we are black. Blackity black, black, black. And
urban brothers and sisters, huh?
Yeah. And we have had amazing careers. We have amazing careers. And we are also in our, as I mentioned, 30s and 40s. Mm-hmm. And it's been difficult to be able to find similarly situated people that we can truly build out friendships and connections with.
Now that probably would surprise some folks because they would think because you're from here, and
Everybody left.
Oh, everybody left.
Some people came.
I see. Come back. Okay.
Yeah. This is really a pitch for Dayton. That's what it is.
No, I really understand that. In some of my community work over the years, we really have tried to build a community that people would want to not only come into, but stay. Because when a lot of the Fortune 500 companies used to be in Dayton, Ohio, those that have left and gone someplace else, from General Motors to NCR, those places would have people come in, young professionals, but then they would use Dayton as sort of just a stomping ground for a period of time, and then they would move away. And for their careers, for their families, so I think that I really understand that it is possible to meet folks that understand what Dayton has to offer, but it is also challenging to be able to have people feel like that it's a friendly, welcoming community across the board where you can bring your good ideas and make things happen. So
I would say and I would say it another way. I think you're absolutely right. But also as you were talking, I was like, I'm thinking about just like gaps. Like there is a generational gap. And they're like, folks are like, oh, you moved to a retirement community. Not intentionally, It's not really. And they're like, oh, well, you're young people, just hang out with the young people. But we also didn't just graduate from, I don't have much in common, nor am I interested in hanging out with a bunch of 20-year-olds. Like full stop.
Right.
And then there is the racial gap. There's a lot of history in Dayton. We won't go into it, but look it up. That racial gap remains.
It is serious.
There is also a massive economic gap in this city as well. All of that plays into, do folks like you all, are you able to come back to Dayton, Ohio and be truly happy across the board?
And I think those particular areas that you have just mentioned remain challenging, and I know for a fact that's something that city management, the mayor, the commissioners work on. I know that the county
Are they working on it with some 30-year-olds and
well,
some 40-year-olds? Or are they working on it?
There may be an opportunity there.
Yeah,
Maybe an opportunity, but also the county commissioners. It's not only a mindset, but it's also understanding that perspective, having traveled the world, the blessings to be able to not only live in other cities, but then to see what other possibilities are at this day and time. And I think that is an opportunity there. I do know because some of the committees that I work on, some of the things that I've been engaged in over the years is really trying to bridge that gap. But unfortunately today, it sometimes seems to be growing wider and wider just because of the environment that we happen to be in. But I'm an eternal optimist. So
you are, yeah.
So
yeah.
I think we can address it. I do.
Look, keep hope alive.
I absolutely.
As we're bringing things back, we just bring back that slogan. Just
absolutely.
Keep hope alive.
I think so. When you first left this area, really was when you went away to college. And you went to a large city there.
That's true.
To spend an extended amount of time.
Yeah, about to say, you all started traveling me young. Well, but yes, you already extended for the years that I was gone.
Yeah.
Yes,
we love to travel. And maybe that's one of the reasons why we love being here and staying here too. Having the opportunity to go to different places.
With direct flights.
And and years ago, when we had all of those Fortune 500 companies, you had IBM, you had, several companies. So
yeah,
there were direct flights.
There you go.
The world was different then.
Just saying.
Yes.
I think we can get back there.
Okay. Well, I know some folks that are working on it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But I remember that particular time in your life when you went to Spelman College and in Atlanta, Georgia. And you loved the opportunity to be around more Black folks.
Oh, it was everything.
It was
a culture shock.
It was, just to be able to, when you turned on the television, you would see Black anchors men and women, not just on one station or not just one, but there would be two or three on this station and two or three on that station. When you would drive around the community, you would see several Black people on an ongoing basis in Atlanta. So it was kind of cool because you really enjoyed that, and we loved going out to eat at the various
Oh, the
restaurants. The
food.
food
Oh, the
was,
food in Atlanta
yeah, it
remains amazing.
was. It
I was
was.
back in Atlanta a few months ago for the first time in a while, and I can now confidently say that Atlanta is full. Like it is jam packed. I
Okay.
was there. I guess we're saying, well, at least 20 years. Was 20 years? 10
Since you've
years?
been out of college?
15 years?
Yes.
I'm like, what
okay.
reunion did I How
Yes,
old am I really?
yes, yes.
Anyway, okay. So it's been many years. And like Atlanta, it's a big city. It was busy, but it wasn't too busy. One of the things I loved about that city was the ability to go to the different I'm gonna call them sectors or sections or areas, whether you were hanging out in Midtown, it was a totally different experience than hanging out downtown, which was a totally different experience of hanging out in Buckhead, which is a different experience of hanging out in Southwest. And so that was a part of the beauty to me in living in Atlanta. But now, and you could get there. Now, to go like 2 miles takes like 45 minutes.
See, that experience that you're talking about now is the same experience of what I felt when I would come to Washington, D.C. and visit you and your
But
husband.
it's a different vibe because you can just
Well,
hop in a cab, or nowadays you can just hop in an Uber or Lyft. Like,
but I'm telling you, I would think I can get from one end of Dayton, Ohio to the another end of Dayton, Ohio, always in 30, 35 minutes, always. I mean, if it was longer than that, it was a true traffic jam. I'd come to DC, and before we would actually start out, you would start talking about, okay, if we don't leave at this time, then it's going to take us an extra 20 minutes to get to the harbor. It's going to take an extra half hour to do an extra. That's in addition to where we're going and the fact that when we had to be there, I mean, we had to be out the door at a specific time. Otherwise, it's going to take an extra time frame just to get to where we're going.
You do have to budget your time. But I mean, that was, I don't know. I wasn't bothered by budgeting my time.
I know you weren't.
I was
misconvenient.
Yeah, but budgeting my time because I mean, DC might be full. No, DC to me is not full. Atlanta, like the sheer volume of people. And when I was there, I was talking to some of the folks who were living there. And I was like, what is going on? And she was like, oh, yeah, we just now stay in our section, in our sector. Like, we don't travel down to Midtown, or we don't go downtown. Like, Buckhead is where we are, and Buckhead is where we're going to stay. And I was like, oh.
Living there, shopping there,
yeah,
socializing,
all
everything.
And I was like, I mean, I get it, but also I was like, a bummer, because a part of what I enjoyed about the city was having those different experience. Black excellence everywhere, which is everything.
Right.
That still permeates, I think, probably regardless of where you go in Atlanta. But I was like, man, I miss the multiculturalism of the different areas of the city.
Sure, I understand that. Well, when you went there and you went to school there, it was that culture shock. But I also think it was a really good growth experience for you. And I was really happy that that's where you chose to go to school. It's where I wanted you to go to school. But people will ask me, did you choose Spelman for Donica? And I said, no, I went to a predominantly white university. Her dad went to an HBCU. But an all-girls school in Atlanta wasn't initially on her radar at
Absolutely
all.
not.
Why?
Absolutely not.
Why?
I mean, and I think it was my grandparents who were the ones that convinced me to consider it as an option. Because I know they came to you and they were like, this child she's growing up in an all-white environment. She's in an all-white school. She's in a all-white church. She's like, where is she going to get the culture? How is she going to know who she is? And they were like, Donica, please just visit some HBCUs.
Yes, that is true. But also what I said was, we lived in a community where you have to learn to get along with all kinds of people.
That's true.
And we also had a business that was absolutely Black on every level.
Yeah.
And there is a reality when you are from a Black family having experiences that are Black on an ongoing basis. And so, what we wanted to make sure was that you had the total experience so that you can be comfortable wherever you go, anywhere you go. So that was the
You all did a
desire.
really good job. You were really intentional. Like now looking back as an adult, I was like,
yeah.
I can see all the intentionality that was put into my put into the parenting of me.
Yes.
If you will. But it was certainly, as I remember it, my grandparents that pushed me over the edge to consider HBCUs. And so I was like, well, what I believed would be a good fit at that time was Spelman, Hampton, or Howard. I think that was it.
Yep.
And so a good friend of mine, she's a year older than me. She went to Howard. So I went to go visit Howard and was like, there's too much intersection with the city. You know, I was walking to class with her and I would see folks who were clearly not in school, students. Yes, students. And I was like, oh no, I need a little more separation from my campus experience. Visited Hampton and was like, okay, cool. Also super rural and kind of felt like I was out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. And also not my jam. And when I visited Spelman, I was like, okay, we got the city, we got the gates, we got some of the basics, but I was not pleased with the accommodations. My expectation that the dorm rooms and the air conditioning, the air conditioning in Atlanta during the summer would be the same as some of the other schools that I have visited, and that was not the case. Now, I feel confident saying that publicly because Spelman has done like a ton of remodeling, and it's a totally different dorm experience. But that first time I went, I was like, it's going to be a no for me. And then I was talking to some other friends when I got back home. They were on their college tours as well, and they were familiar with a program called The Day in the Life of Spelman. And they were like, can't we just go down together? Like, we should just do this together and it'll be fine. I was like,
the sister experience.
The sister experience. So that is what changed my mind. I think you all sent me there for 36 hours. And when you came to pick me up, I was like, it's not time yet. Like, please go back to Ohio. I will. I'm just going to stay here for the rest of my life.
The change took place, ladies and gentlemen, right then and there. And I was thrilled. I was thrilled. I was thrilled because you needed that experience, but you needed to want to have that experience for all the things that we've talked about. And also, I think understanding what a historically Black college really has for you as an African-American, male or female, in terms of the depth of your soul and spirit. You're around educators who understand the journey, but they also understand what it is you need in order to succeed in life, doing whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah.
You're around people who understand your background, understand the fact of what's gone on historically, and people who have your best interest in mind. So, and we've talked about it at other times. So most of the leaders in the African-American community have had some experience, a majority of them, at historically Black colleges, even today.
Absolutely. And I wish I've done a couple of presentations on HBCUs and the role that they play in the United States. I cannot remember the specific facts and figures, but you are spot on. I mean, if you're talking about the Congressional Black Caucus, it's like 40% went to HBCUs. If you're talking about professions like professors or doctors, lawyers, et cetera, it's like the number jumps up to like 89% or like 92% or like it's well, I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah. Your father was an engineer, an aeronautical engineer. I mean, he truly felt like he was able to succeed in that profession because of the nurturing that he had at an HBCU.
I remember coming back after my first year and folks who I called my aunties, but your friends were like, well, she's a totally different person. Like, she has grown, like she left a girl and came back a young woman.
Yes, that's true. You did. The sense of self-confidence, the idea that, as Black women, young Black women, we can do anything. We can be who we
And
want
then
to
you're
be.
surrounded by it. You have
That's right.
examples. You don't have to imagine
The
it.
authentic self. Who was the president of Spelman when you went to school there?
And Dr. Beverly Tatum.
Dr. Tatum. Yes. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we remember the wonderful Dr. Janetta Cole, who has history there. And I'm an advocate.
Look, me too. Me too. And I always get so excited when I hear students who are interested in attending not just Spelman, like absolutely Spelman, but not just Spelman, but HBCUs across the board, because it's a transformational experience.
It is. And even though I had a great college experience, and throughout my adulthood, I have stayed connected to my college, I don't have the same kind of kinship with friends in the same way, having not gone to an HBCU. So, and I'm going to tell you, that's when your grandmama really sort of changed her story about where one should go to college. She was an advocate for education, but she really wanted me to go to a school that would allow me to be able not only to learn and grow, but where I would have the skill sets. And she would say this, so you can go anywhere and be anything that you wanted to be and be able to compete at the level of the dominant population. And she felt like that going to a white school at that time.
Well, you and I have talked about this, and that's interesting. I think perhaps she was also coming from a perspective of making sure that you have both experiences. And so you went to a Black high school, but went to a white college, but you still had both experiences. You were educated in both systems, so you could navigate both spheres. And I went to a white high school, but went to a Black college. And so it has helped me. Having both of those experiences has, been critical in my overall just life and lifestyle and how I attack, my day to day.
Yes. Well, you need to have the experiences. You need to have the mindset. You need to have the confidence. You need to have the education to be able to move and navigate as we go through the world. And we're hoping that those who are listening to us and watching us really understand that diversification in terms of opportunity, and then take the best route, the best journey for you as an individual.
Well, so we are obviously both very passionate about education, full stop. But I also feel like I hear a lot of rhetoric nowadays around like, is a college degree truly necessary? By the way, I have no answers. It's been incredibly beneficial for me. I don't know whether or not, actually, I do know that I probably would not be in the situation I'm in now, but for some of my educational experiences. But I also understand the perspective of like, it's really expensive, and it's more expensive today than it was when you went to school. And I was fortunate enough to have you all pay off my undergrad. You all paid for my undergrad. Thank you again. But I didn't stop there. I went to law school, and I had to take out student loans to go to law school, which also meant I had to pay them back.
Right. That's true. It was necessary for you to have that financial investment in your future. We were both adamant about that. I was a little more adamant about that.
But that's a bill that I am fortunate enough to have paid it off now, but that is a bill that followed me, where I could absolutely plug into the broader conversation and rhetoric around like, it's just really expensive. It's a really big bill to have as a young person. How can I fully take advantage of all of the opportunities that are around me when I am saddled with this amount of debt?
And that particular question is one of the primary questions of today in higher education. So I have sat on university boards, and we have really wrestled with not only the cost of education, but how to be able to be competitive in this environment. To go to school, not to go to school. I think the key becomes, what are you as a young person passionate about, and what kind of life do you want to have for yourself? Now, you can make that investment you can go to a really good community college, and then later on you can maybe decide that you want to go to a traditional 4-year institution, or you can go to maybe a cheaper undergrad school and then go to a graduate school to allow you to have that kind of education, or you can decide to go to a technical school. The importance is to be able to better yourself and to continue with the education so that you can have the life and the lifestyle that you're passionate about at some particular time. You can't sit back and just decide to be and do, complain about what you don't have, and you're not willing to put the time, energy, effort, and work in it.
So I don't I don't know that that's the argument that I hear. I hear it more so the goal is to make money. Full stop. Like I want to be able to support a family. I want to be able to buy a house. Like I want to be economically secure. Um, full stop. And so does taking on college debt help with that? Or should I go to a trade school and graduate and come out at 22 making now I do not have the numbers here, so apologies folks if you're like, well, she's way off, but come out at the age of 22 making $120,000 a year and then setting yourself up that way.
I think today in 2025, that's a legitimate question. But life, now that I can say at this point in my life, in my mid 70s, money is one aspect, but more importantly, doing something that you love doing is some place where you want to get to in life. Because you can make all the money in the world, but if you're not happy doing what it is that you're doing, if you are not secure in terms of the career that you wanted for yourself, whether it's you or your spouse or whatever, you don't reach that ultimate goal of happiness and joy. You're
Yeah.
just working to work.
I-
And so it,
I agree
but
with
you
that.
don't
That's
you
what I
don't
was hearing.
discover that until later on, because most people they go after the brass ring. They just
Well, one
wanna
of the
make the money.
conversations that we had was, okay, does passion have to be your career? I don't know if you remember us talking about this. This was a couple years ago, actually. But it was, do you stay on a career path that's going to provide you the resources to live whatever life you live? And then also, because you are well resourced, you will have the opportunity to be able to engage in your passions. Or are you going to try to make, I'm not going to call out any particular fields or anything. Are you going to try to make your passion work? And maybe it does, maybe it doesn't.
I think it's a combination, actually, Donica, because a lot of people have no idea what their purpose and or passion.
At 22, really?
It,
You didn't know what your life was going to look like?
no. In fact, what's interesting is I listened to the athletes today, and of course, I was in the entertainment industry for a number of years, and so I had an opportunity to meet a lot of young stars. And for them, it's about the lifestyle, and it's about the money, and it's about what they want to do. But those who really last long term have a real passion for their art, their talent, and for what they want to do.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful when they can have all of those pluses. But and this is my own personal belief, one of the reasons why folks just don't have it later on or they lose it or whatever is because they were just chasing the money and didn't have the kind of passion that they needed so that they wouldn't make decisions that was not beneficial for them long term.
Yeah, I get it. I was just playing devil's advocate and thinking about some of the really valid opinions that I've heard from other people on this particular topic. But I agree with you. When I was in law school, I had just graduated. Whatever. I worked for a law firm and made a whole lot of money, but was miserable. I did not enjoy the practice of law. And so then I moved to DC and started doing policy things, blah, 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 blah. But it took me a really long time to get back to that financial position of where I was when I finally stopped my schooling. And so I totally get it. No money, no amount of money. Well, I actually can't say no amount of money in the world. But I'm just saying, I understand the the decisions around
Sure,
that,
sure.
because I did not want to stay, and the money wouldn't keep me. I wanted to go do something that I actually cared about.
And I think that makes all the difference in the world. And if more individuals could not only understand that, but really grasp hold of that particular concept later in life, then you start preparing yourself for that dream that one talks about.
But I think you have to have the experience
Sure.
of both.
Yes.
I think, and then also you have to have the ability to navigate what it looks like when you leave a really well-paying job, right? So if I'm leaving the practice of law and I am moving to Washington D.C. and I am, excuse me, starting on Capitol Hill with those abysmal salaries,
yes.
It's a drastic difference, and a more expensive city. I understand when people are like, "What?" It is a privileged journey. Thank you, God, and thank you, parents. That I can just see how folks might have a different perspective if they're living a different reality.
And a lot of people are living a different reality.
Yeah.
But what we want for them is to live your best life.
That's true.
And so in order to be able to do that, you have to have a value system. You have to be able to have some kind of training, something.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be the college degree, but it has to be some kind of training, and you're continuing to better yourself throughout your young life. And you're continuing to be aware of those resources.
We don't want you to just survive. We want you to thrive.
We want you to thrive. Yes. Yes. So I appreciate the life lessons from my parents. And one of the reasons why we wanted to do this podcast is not only to have a conversation and give some perspectives, but also in honor of particularly my mother, Rosa Hawes. Rosa was a force to be dealt with. She was 4'11", but she thought like a person who was 6'5". And she always believed that there are opportunities out there. You just have to go and you have to find them. And then you have to make them work for yourself. And there's nothing wrong with hard work. So in honor of Rosa, our Rose of the family, we say, Mommy, good advice.
Love that. Those generational learnings.
Yes, absolutely. So I was raised by her.
I was raised by her too. We'll see you next time.
Thanks. Bye.